Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Within Reach. We have a good one for you guys today.
I got this trauma in my body. Only John I'm mobbing with is the beloved, not the Gotti.
I have the amazing power couple, Jackie and Preston Perry.
Because I think it's important for people to know that Jesus is not just some God amongst many gods, but he is the one and true Lord.
But when you eat bread, it holds weight in your body. And so Jesus is saying, I ain't just here to save you, I'm also here to satisfy you.
I was taking a bath and I just started crying and I didn't know why I was crying. And it felt like I was just overwhelmed.
If she's gone for a weekend, I'm gonna make sure I clean the room so when she comes home, she can come home to a clean space. She's an introverted person who God called to pour into people. You know, God is funny like that. Why you call somebody this introverted to be this famous in the Christian community? Humility is a real big thing.
That triggered something for me. Can I say something?
Yes, please. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Within Reach, and we have a super special episode for you guys today. Today, I'm actually joined by my co-host. You guys have met him, you know him, my husband, Lawrence Brown, or also LB.
What's up, everybody? It's me, LB.
Yes, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me, babe.
Also, super excited to introduce my special guest, our special guest today. It's so funny because a lot of the people, the folks in the Owning It and Living It community found me through your podcast, 30 Minutes with the Perrys. So I'm very excited to...
It's not 30 minutes with the Perrys, much just with the Perrys because we kept talking.
Yeah, because y'all be going
minutes.
longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
With the Perrys, longer than 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so really excited to introduce Jackie. Y'all know who Jackie is, but Jackie is Jackie. Mm-hmm. She is an artist. She is a speaker, a preacher, an author, a really good writer. She is a mom, a mother, a believer in Jesus, sister in Christ. Welcome.
A wife.
And a wife.
A wife. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was waiting
he's
to.
like, wife.
He's like, look,
Hey,
look.
Preston. Huh? Right.
Like I ain't right here.
Mistaken.
Last but definitely not least. Then also we have Preston Perry. Preston also wears many hats. He is a brother, or what?
I said literally.
Literally. Like you gonna see Preston in a fly hat. He is an evangelist, author of an amazing book. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Oh man. Founder of Bold Apparel, Bold TV, like such an amazing father to some beautiful children, a husband. What else did I miss?
That's about it.
You do a lot of different speaker, poet.
Yeah. I'm just a real one. Just say real one.
No, seriously, a real one. A really amazing storyteller. Like, yes. We've had some amazing brother storytellers on the podcast. Yeah, but welcome, guys.
Thanks for
being
having us.
here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for being here. Okay, so I'm really excited to start off this conversation. Start off with just a little quick icebreaker. I always love to learn this about people. I'm naturally curious about folks. So I wanted to know, I want to start with you, babe. When you were Lil LB, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, a pastor. I wanted to be a pastor. Why you laugh though, bro? Hey, listen. Hey, y'all heard it? Like, is that shocking?
A pastor.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, a pastor.
You are a pastor
I was
in
just
lots
very
of ways.
motivated, growing up with my grandma and them, she put the holy oil and just was very curious of all those things. And I watched it on TV and I wondered,
So what age you wanted to be a pastor? Because I heard like stories. I heard you was a bad kid.
Hey man, listen, the Lord's still been working on me though. You know what I'm saying?
If you want to be
I was in the my dad was so third. I was like in the third grade. So let's say 8.
You still got time.
Still got time. Yeah. Right.
I love it. Jackie, what did you want to be?
A chef.
A chef.
Yeah.
Okay, but you be in the kitchen though.
Not no more. We be Uber Eating it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel you. It's
I
a
don't
lot.
got the time.
4 kids, homeschool,
right.
a lot. What about you?
And a dog.
And a dog, yes.
Gotta count the dog.
Yes.
With me, it changed like every year, bro. Like seriously, I think for the most part, I just wanted to be either a producer of music,
alive.
And alive.
That's funny.
Southside
for the most part of my life, I look up to my Uncle Stan, who was a producer, entrepreneur. He owned beeper shops, cell phone shops, worked on the radio. And so I just wanted to be like him.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. It's really interesting. I'm talking to previous podcasts about like as kids, how like it's kind of like unfair for kids to like graduate high school when they've been told their whole life what to do and then expect in one summer that they're supposed to know exactly what they want to do for the rest of their lives.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And how much like the influences of people in our life, like somebody told you should be a pastor. Somebody told me I should major in physical therapy.
That's random.
Why? Yeah. You know, and so just thinking about
you got nice fingers. You can what physical therapy?
I don't know. I don't know. But you know, it's just like the experiences of other people, what they would have wanted for their lives. And I think that's so interesting. So this conversation.
What about you?
A physical therapist.
Oh, but somebody told you that.
No, yeah. When I it's really interesting. When I was younger, I wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
I still got time.
Yeah, you still got time.
Yeah.
Book coming?
Book coming one day. We'll see.
Hey.
We'll see what the Lord says.
You should have been wrote a book.
Right.
Anyways, we can talk about that offline.
Yes. Okay. So I mean, you guys, you are so talented. You travel the world, you speak and share your story. You serve the kingdom in so many amazing ways. I want this episode, I want people to be able to see, like, how does all of that happen, right? We see online and, you know, the things that you guys put out and the content and everything. I want people to understand, like, okay, how does all this happen? Like from a logistics standpoint, right? And, you know, what are the dynamics that you guys like work through as a family, as friends, and et cetera, to really support one another? So, okay, I have a question. So I want to start with you, Jackie. Both of you guys, y'all do a lot of different things. And you, like I said, you give a lot of your time, and that sometimes can take y'all into two different directions. I mean, you were in Canada and you were somewhere else. I don't know. What does that look like? How do you balance between what to say yes to and wanting to pursue the different dreams and goals, and even not even dreams and goals, but just the things, the doors that the Lord opens up? And how do you balance what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Yeah. I think one is, I think your yes is easier when you know what you're gifted and called to do. So I'm not giving my yes away to stuff that I'm not actually equipped for. You know what I'm saying? And so if it's teaching, then I know I can narrow it down to there's room for a yes here because I can teach, versus if you ask me to come, you know, do a poem at your grandma's funeral, it's like RIP, but nah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's an easy no. Right. And I think that's helpful to say.
Has that happened?
I do get requests to do things at funerals and weddings.
Okay.
But I feel like some people give their yes away to stuff they're not even equipped for or called to. And so they're wasting their time and their energy.
Well, they have capacity for.
Yeah, so that's one. Two, I think my yes changes according to seasons. And so I think when Eden was smaller, I gave a lot of yeses all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like, oh yeah, I'll be at your church. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. But the more kids we've had, the more businesses we've had, the less margin I have. And so now I'm at a place where I've capped my events to probably 10 a year, in addition to the tour. And so that used to be 30 a year. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And so it could be more, but it's like, what will that do to my family? What will that do to my soul, my heart? What will that do to my relationships if I'm always saying yes to everybody else more than I say it to my family?
That's good.
Yeah, and that's something that we definitely talk about and we go through a lot, is when you have these things you want to do and you feel like you're called to do it, and it requires a lot from you. What I hear you saying is that you learn to figure out almost like a meter of like, okay, this is how I know like I need to scale back, and this is how I know I need to move forward. And I can see how that comes with experience.
Yeah, failing a lot.
Thank you. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I want to specifically hear like what are some signs that things may be a little bit unbalanced and we need to like kind of reassess.
Yeah, so probably it was before the pandemic, maybe 2019, maybe 2020. That year I did about 120 flights because we toured and I was speaking. My book had just came out, so I was all over the place. And I didn't have any events in December. And I remember all my events were over and I was taking a bath and I just started crying and I didn't know why I was crying. And it felt like I was just overwhelmed. And then I was looking at my calendar or something and I remember my mind started to get confused. And I was like, why? And I don't get confused. I'm pretty clear all the time. And so I was like, why am I feeling confused? Then I started to feel panicky. And I was like, is this a panic attack? And so I walked outside immediately and called my therapist. And she was like, you caught it before it probably went full throttle. So I got on the phone randomly with Crystal Evans-Hurst and we was talking through my schedule. And she was like, you need to know that what you say yes to, you need to think about what place you'll be when the yes comes to pass. And so I would say yes 10 months in advance. But then when that 10 months came, everything is collapsing on itself because I wasn't planning well. And so now if I'm saying yes a year in advance, I'm like, okay, what month is this happening? What might be going on? Is this around some birthdays? Is this around some things? And so I have to create more space and more room where I'm not just doing the most.
Yes.
So I'm just way more patient when it comes to scheduling things than I used to be.
That's really good. And not allowing other people's pressures and deadlines to like to make you make a decision quickly. I imagine will be that's really good. So Preston, as a husband, please check it, like chime in, because I know that this is something that you and I
listen,
are constantly
they doing
like
a good
trying
job.
to figure
I'm just
out.
listening like
Yeah, we had a conversation last week I want to
bit.
get into that would be really fitting for this conversation. But in those seasons, Preston, like she has a book coming out. Like, so you have a book coming out now. And so you're heading into a busier season. And the seasons that she has a book coming out, she's like doing a lot more. What is support?
And the tour.
Whatever, just in a season where she may have a busier season than you, like what does support look like in a way that allows even a personality like Jackie to be like, okay, how can you like lovingly support her during that season? Because it's hard being a mama and doing all the different things.
Yeah, for sure. I think support looks like, when she gets home. One, I do think that men, especially when you have a wife that does, just as much as you do, traveling and stuff like that, you need to be aware of the things that might make her feel even more burdensome when she gets home. And so I just know my wife wants the room clean. And so if she's gone, you know what I'm saying?
Simple stuff.
Just simple stuff.
Yeah.
If she's gone for a weekend or whatever, I'm gonna make sure I clean the room so when she comes home, she can come home to a clean space.
And you clean the room too, Preston. Y'all hear them? Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah,
Men.
and that's
This is a joint effort.
And I'm not gonna sit here in front of your podcast act like I clean a lot. I clean the less in my house. She cleans more than me, and then she be having like maid service and stuff come too. But
It's a modern woman.
you know what I'm saying. But when she's gone a weekend or whatever, or even if a lot of times we go on the same weekends, if I come back home first and I know she's tired, especially like when she does her glory events, but I know she's pouring out a lot, try to keep the room clean. I think another thing is just being there. Like I know like she doesn't have a lot of energy to like at first to take my problems, and so she's been talking to people after the event, yada, yada, yada. And so I know she just wants to come home and to like download her thoughts. And I know that's a form of therapy too, to be able to like talk or whatever. And so like, when she comes or whatever and she often comes home, just wanted to tell me about the weekend. I listen. I try to be a good listener. You know, sometimes I get on my phone and she slaps it and says, "Sit down." So just very practical things like that. Just making sure, you know, when she comes home, the home can be a place where she can just really rest and detox and, you know,
that's good.
I think pour out in a good way, not a energy pouring out.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
my energy is depleted usually on some level. And I think that's different than if I'm working on a book or something like that, because my energy isn't necessarily depleted. And so it really, but I think we support one another, but we also have so much external support with nannies and my mama and all the stuff. And so I think they really carry a lot of the weight when it comes to us being able to do a lot of what we do.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, and I think also too, our dynamic is different because we're both really, really busy.
Yeah.
So the year that she flew 100 and something flights, I flew over 100 flights that year too. I flew 110.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so like we were on a 44 city tour together.
Yeah.
So like without her, like her mom, I don't never want her to leave.
Yes.
Like her mom is a
Miss Linda
a blessing.
Is the GOAT.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then we have a nanny that helps us. So if we didn't have that external support, you know, I don't think we can make it.
Nope.
I have a question. Yeah. I think you asked this to Jackie, or if you didn't, I can rephrase it. But how are you able to even gauge, like, man, I could see this is where my wife is in this moment. Like when she come home, like her mood, like, like how are you able to?
I typically, I know her, you know, she's an introverted person who God called to pour into people. You know, God is funny like that. It's like, God, why you call somebody this introverted to be this famous in the Christian community?
Yes.
Like, it's so she, you know, a lot of people drain her. I think I'm probably like one of the few people that don't drain her, you know what I'm saying, for a long period of time. And so I know, I just know how she is. Yeah. You know, so I know if she had like a long weekend, she's gonna come back with not a lot to give. You know what I'm saying? And so how can I just be whatever she needs?
Yeah.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know how depleted she'll be. I don't really know, you know, I try to gauge that when she comes.
Absolutely.
But then also too, I think it's really about communication. Because, you know, like early in our marriage, I would assume that she was good, you know what I'm saying? And I would come to her and then she would have to tell me whatever. But it's like now she communicates, like, I'm really drained, yada, yada, yada. Sorry if I'm not talking a lot, you know, and I just wait, you know what I'm saying? I don't take it personal. I just wait for her to be ready to talk and, you know.
And y'all talked, you didn't bring this up, but y'all mentioned the pandemic. How did that work? Was that like a little bit too much time together? Or, hey man, listen, go.
No, I think I actually not empathize. I felt bad for the couples who during the pandemic were doing life together.
Were reintroducing themselves
in a degree that they hadn't been previously, because I couldn't relate to that. Like our life is so integrated that the pandemic was normative. It's like we're used to this.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to think about it.
If anything, I wasn't used to being around my kids every day. That it was like I've never been around them every single day. There is no school.
No. And at that point, y'all had two.
Yeah, and it became 4.
And then you were pregnant consistently.
Because already we doing podcasts with one another, you know what I'm saying, weekly.
Touring.
And then we're touring. We every fall we do a 44 city tour. Yeah. And then after that we do a world tour.
Back then, he's not talking
Back then, this is like stopped at 2019.
Right.
So from 2015 to 2019, 5 years straight, that's what we did. We toured like consistently. And so we were always, you know, doing ministry. We was on a tour, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, but them kids, that was speaking of kids, we ended up having 2 more kids during the pandemic. We got
having a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, Netflix, you know, and chilling.
Ain't do nothing.
You know one thing I want to say, I just remember during the pandemic, you come over to the house, you be like, I'm tired, dog. I'm just tired. But even in that, we didn't always just talk about sports and everything else, just how you honored your wife, like the way she showed up, like just where y'all was at, just that transparent. It was like, man, this is really good. And even giving, you know, me a lot of good tips and things.
You gave me a lot of good tips too.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit from you. I learned a lot from you.
No, but saying that to say, like, I think that was another reason, like, even for us, we needed that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't more so a way to get away from our wives, but also
we
like
needed
wisdom. Like we were
to replenish each other.
No, absolutely. The pandemic, our get ups with our other friends was really like needed for me.
Really, helpful.
Because you know what I'm saying, it was like y'all ain't got COVID, do y'all? And then,
right. Hey, we going there.
Man, can y'all remember that life?
It was crazy. It was crazy. I was just over your house all the time.
On that screened in porch. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's
like, I gotta go. My wife called, hey, let me make sure I bring us some food. Jackie, what you want? Bring us some food. As long as you bring us something back good, she good.
Right. What you feel say about?
I was gonna say, I think that's also a part of supporting your spouse is giving your spouse the room to decompress with friends.
Yes.
Because you can't be their primary source of fuel.
Can we talk about that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So being like, no, like go play basketball. Go do something.
Go shoot.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think that helps us all recharge in a way.
I actually think that's kind of a myth about marriage, is that our significant other is supposed to be our everything.
No, that's idolatry.
Yeah.
That part. And honestly, like, that's very intimidating for me. That's a lot of pressure for me to have to be someone's everything. You know, because I got a lot of things that are flaws. And you know, man, that's really important. And I think that I just know I hear so many, like, whether people are married and they're struggling and they maybe have this false sense of like what marriage is supposed to look like because we see marriage on Instagram and we think that this is what marriage looks like, or we are single and aspire to be married and we think it's supposed to look like that. And it's just like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I would often, I think when Preston would be stressed or anxious or tired, I'd be like, you need to call LB. Or go with Ezekiel, like go do something. And it would be the balm that he didn't know that he needed. Yes. You know? So.
And sometimes you know how it is, like you can tell a person something and he'll be like, but then he'll say it or somebody else will say it and he'll be like a whole profound thing. And I'm like, I told you that last Thursday.
For sure.
Okay, so here's something that I'm interested in knowing with you guys is, sometimes you talked about calling and gifts and how that can help determine what you say yes to and what you say no to. Sometimes one or the other spouse can be called to something, right? And the other one may not be called to it. The other one may not like even want to be involved in it at all. And what I've seen in the real estate world, like we have someone who's interested in investing because they really want to do X, Y, Z. Maybe they want to homeschool their kids or whatever it is, and they want to use investing as this tool to help them get there. And they feel like, you know, God's calling them to pursue this in this season, but their spouse is not on board with that. Has that ever been a situation with you guys? And if so, like, how did you navigate through that? Do you say no? Do you say yes? Like, how do you manage that? Either one of you guys.
I think for us, we have similar gifts. So we both are gifted to teach. We both are communicators. We both are creatives, right? And so we don't necessarily have tension when it comes to sharing a call per se. I think where we've had tension is when one of us has a vision that the other one doesn't feel like walking into. And so Preston will often have ideas that take me years to agree with. So the podcast tour, he wanted to do that 2 years ago. And I was like, I don't wanna. You know, the podcast, I wanna do a podcast. I don't wanna, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if that's the thing is like, he has a thing that he wants to do. I don't necessarily want to do it. And us having to figure out, what does God want? Right? Like, is God leading Preston in this direction or all the things? So even like during the pandemic, Preston was like, we should do a YouTube vlog and we should get Patreon. And I was like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't want people seeing my entire life. That's weird. Too. Patreon, it just felt like a lot of work. but I prayed about it, and I felt like the Lord was like, I'm trying to provide for you through what he said. And so it was like, I couldn't shut it down anymore because now I got clarity from the Lord. And so I did it, and it sustained us during the entire pandemic.
Wow.
And so I think that's usually what we do. But I will say, I think it is a sense in which what God has called him, like what he's called a spouse to, he's also called the other spouse to. And so I don't think we have the luxury to say, no, that's just your thing. No, it's automatically our thing. One
it's called being a visionary.
Wow.
I'm a visionary.
You are.
Yeah.
I'm just playing. No, but I do think that that's, it's probably the tension with a lot of couples, but absolutely. It has been tension at times, but it also has been something that I think we've actively worked through, and I've been really blessed how, she trusts me more, you know what I'm saying? Because I think God kind of shows me like the potential in something, and I'm a dreamer and I'm a visionary or whatever, but she's an executor.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I bring it to her, because I don't know how to execute as well.
Yeah.
But I have good ideas, and I know she could just take a good idea and make it come to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, especially like, and I also think that it's really helpful for couples especially for couples who have similar gifts and just individual gifts, to figure out what the Lord wants you to do, what the Lord wants her to do, and what the Lord wants y'all to do together.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I never try to do is I never try to walk in doors that was open for Jackie.
Ooh.
Right? And I never want her to try to walk in doors that was open for me. And so like especially as a husband, how can husbands as leaders figure out like, man, like how can you discern, okay, this is what God wants her to do. Like this is a particular mission that God wants her to do. How can I be a good leader, come alongside her and help her in her mission?
Yep.
How can I still do what God has called me to do? And how can I, in a gracious, loving way, kind of convince her what I feel like the Lord wants us to do together?
Because it's rarely that I don't think his ideas are good. It's rarely that. It's because we had to talk about this recently. It's if I am the executioner, then that means that your idea is more work for me. And so I don't know if I have the capacity or the energy to execute your idea, because you're going to give it to me, but I have to do all the legwork.
Yeah.
And so that's usually why I'm slow to do a thing, because I need to remove some other stuff out of my world. And I need to have an affection for the vision, so that if I'm executing it with excellence because I care about it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's always good for me to care about a thing. If I don't care, that's hard.
It's like, nah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
And so that's been something that we work through. It's not that I'm rejecting you or rejecting your vision or rejecting your idea. It's simply, I see everything that idea entails, and I need the energy to do that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think early in our marriage, I felt rejected. I don't really feel rejected when I come to her with ideas anymore. Only because I think for the most part, we've learned how to like critically like work through like my ideas, like, and to be realistic about.
And you're more patient.
And yeah, definitely more patient. God has grown me.
I'm sorry, I just cut you off.
It's
We
all
have
good.
more infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
before, if you had an idea, I was the only person that could do it.
You have a
Now
team.
we can offload that, where it's
Yes.
like, okay, Preston has this idea. Justin, can you do this? Brianna, can you do this? Channing, can you do this? And
Yes.
so it's really me articulating what he just said.
Yeah, and
Yes.
cause I'm like, Lord, you've given me a lot of ideas that made us money, right? You gave me the idea about the clothing line, the podcast, Patreon, or whatever, and it's helped provide it for our family. But at the same time, it's like, for many years, I felt, to be honest with you, I felt guilty for having all of these ideas, all of these visions, when I'm not the best planner. Just don't know how to like organize stuff in my head. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, and so she actually helps me like, Preston, reel it in.
Yeah.
It's too much. So she helps me organize stuff like, okay, what's on your calendar? You don't have that. Did you just accept that event? Why did you just accept that event? You need to say no. And so I had to learn. And so I really think that it was a learning curve and a learning, you know what I'm saying?
good.
And also too, I'm also paying attention to where she's at and what she's doing,
Yeah.
what she has on her plate or whatever. And, taking it to the Lord. I think I take a lot of my passions and my visions to the Lord. I truly take it to the Lord first.
Yeah.
And then he kind of tells me like when to take it to Jack.
And that's what I am learning, that part, because as a person who has had success with taking ideas and bringing it to fruition through like the thing, your vision, her executing it and like all the things, there's an illusion that there's an illusion of success that you can just easily like make things happen. And sometimes, again, like you talked about how, Jackie talked about how you don't convince her to do things. So it's like trying to figure out, when is there a time that I do need to cast a vision to you and spell it out? And then when is there a time where I actually need to pray and ask the Lord to like open these doors and make the vision like plain to my spouse, you know, and it's trying to figure out like what that looks like and discerning that. So that's really good. So one of the things I hear oftentimes talk about, and it's like very cliche, and I want us to like really unpack that, is like, okay, if you have a potential vision that, you know, you and your spouse want to pursue, and maybe somebody is not, you know, on the same page yet. How do you, and the advice is given, okay, you don't move until y'all get on the same page. What exactly does that mean, right? How do we get on the same page? And so for you guys, when did the podcast seem right to pursue after years of like not really seeing it? Like, okay guys, did you hear the news? I am giving away a fully turnkey house. Yes, you heard that correct. I am giving away a fully renovated house at the Owning and Living It experience. You gotta be in the room though to win the house. It is November 1st through 3rd at the Intercontinental Hotel in Buckhead. Go to experience.owningitandlivingit.com to grab your ticket today before the prices go up. I'll see you in November.
I can't even speak that because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I could speak to the podcast tour since that was a thing that Preston had. I think what people are simply using as a metaphor to communicate unity, right? So you want to be unified in how y'all move because you're one flesh. I think that's biblical and right. The process of that for us is, I'm never looking at Preston's vision as solely coming from Preston. I'm always trying to discern, is God speaking through Preston, right? So for me, that's why I say he's not good at convincing me, because it's never that the idea is a bad idea. It's me trying to discern, God, is this your idea? Right. Or is this just Preston's idea?
Yes.
If it's your idea, then I got to obey and submit.
Yes.
If it's just Preston's idea, then there's some room to push back. You get what I'm saying? Because it's just a human being.
Right.
And so people can disagree with that, but that's just how, if the Lord says it, I'm gonna obey even if I don't feel like it.
Because the Lord gonna work it out.
Yeah. So, and I know there's grace for it.
Yeah.
And so if God has downloaded this idea to Preston, even if I have some resistance and some rebellion in my heart, I can entrust myself to the vision because I know God is with us now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think with the tour, it just made sense with the timing.
Yeah.
Because previous to this, we didn't have teams. We didn't have money. I didn't have experience with getting sponsorships and having conversations with networks. I had went through Glory, and so doing Glory, doing Just Worship, doing all these events and like I got a sense of what it means to produce an event, what it means to travel with an event. So I have way more information and knowledge and contacts that now says, okay, we can execute this vision because I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was doing before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's a part of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, that does make sense. And I even got a question for you, Preston, because you brought up in the past it used to feel like rejection. So where y'all at now, 2024, May 20, you know what I'm saying? How do you respond to that? So when she come back, well, tell me, walk me through it. So, babe, let's meet. Do y'all meet? Is it text message?
No, we in the bed.
Oh, y'all in the bed, y'all laying down, Netflix?
That's when we talk this stuff is in the bed.
So, and then you like, hey, like, you get his attention. Walk me through it. And then how do you respond?
How do I respond to what?
To, like, if she, like, I want to do it, like, let's do it. Let's move forward. Is it like, okay, let's lock in?
Yeah, or opposed to when she has pushback or she doesn't want to do it?
Absolutely.
I mean, when she wants to do something, you know, I don't even think I came to you with an idea lately.
All of your ideas have been a go.
Yeah. Most of my ideas are go. I think I had pushback earlier in our marriage. We don't have pushback now, like I said, because we do have a team. Yeah. So the pushback came like earlier. Now when I have an idea, we talk about it. When she has an idea, we talk about it. Yeah. And we see how we can execute it to the best of our abilities.
Yeah. It's rarely a no, it's a how.
That's good.
Yeah. It's like, okay, cool. How? And the how clarifies the when.
Yeah, because I do think there's a level of trust that we have with each other that we didn't have early in our marriage.
That's good.
And so, you know, earlier she didn't trust me probably as much because she didn't have evidence of things working.
Right.
Yeah. And vice versa. But now it's kind of like, okay, I can see that. Now I trust how she, you know, how well she executes. It's like, okay, now I even entrust my visions to you even more.
Absolutely.
And you ain't trusted all of my visions too, because I feel like it make it seem like I just say no to everything you be saying. But
no, I'll be saying no too.
Right.
Yeah. I'll be saying,
just so we're clear.
Yeah, I'll be saying no too. And so like, yeah, but like most of the stuff that you have told me to do, it worked. And so now I'd be like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah. And it's good to see that come together. I know you used the example at the book launch where you said, man, big up to my wife. I didn't even want to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean the turnout. Like
on a Tuesday, my book launch
on a Tuesday.
Yeah, hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, and I'm like,
you had people in the balcony, you had people on the floor.
But see, here's the thing though. We sitting in bed one day and Jackie's like, what do we need to do for this book? And I'm like, I'm gonna make a couple posts. And she was like, no, we need to do a book launch event. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't really need to do that. She's like, no. So she started like researching. She found like 3 places. And then she scheduled it. And then I'm like, I saw the place. And then I started getting excited. Then I started to see the vision. But it was all her. It wasn't my idea. And I'm so glad that I did it because I was able to sell so much merch. Yeah. Get, you know what I'm saying? Get so much content from it. Yeah. So that trust.
Right.
Yeah, I think sometimes when I have an idea, I think Preston's ideas are often very practical. Mm-hmm. I think my ideas can be big, where he can sometimes feel as if it won't succeed because of how big it is.
But also that's true, babe. But also too, I'm just a relationship oriented person. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I have bigger visions for people for things that I do with people.
But not for yourself.
Yeah. And so that's
y'all
just,
are liking those ways.
That's just the way God.
I'm listening like
that's just the way God that's just the way God built me.
Yeah.
And so I see, like off camera, one of your producers asked about ego, like how do I know it's my ego? And it's like, one, I gotta check my ego at the door before I even talk to my wife. And so if I'm not going to the Lord about my ego first, it's like I shouldn't even be going to Jackie, right? And that's so good. Also too, I think, you know, something that was birthed out of ego, I think it would be evident that it was birthed out of ego when it don't work, right?
Yes.
Like, and so I can honestly say, I think everything that we've done together, I think it's been obvious that God's hand has been on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but I think God is also going to use people how He has uniquely made them.
Yeah.
And so God has made me to bring people together to do things with people. Yeah. So I don't often think about individual success.
Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I often think about success with people. Yeah. That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easier for me to think about, you know, what we can accomplish together than just me. A lot of times she be having more confidence in my individual dreams, like Bold TV. Yeah. How it blew up when I did it. Like it was everywhere. Yeah. But Jackie told me to do that. Yeah. She was like, no, you don't understand how great of an evangelist you are. You need to do it. Like this book, Jackie told me to write a book. She was like, no, you're a good writer. Write a book. I'm like, Bold TV, I came to Jackie, I'm Bold Apparel. I was like, yo, I want to start a clothing line. She was like, let's do it. Let's do it right now. I'm like, and then she started plotting. I was like, and so like, I think when I bring individual things to her, she sees, you know, I guess this is a blessing. She sees, you know, something
I'm
in me, a helper.
Yes.
And she helps bring those things to fruition.
Like what I hear you guys saying is, one, you learn how to accept one another for who y'all are individually. And you also are very self-aware of your gifts and what your strengths are and how they complement one another. Sure. And there's just like a proven level of like safety
and trust
just from experience of being able to like go through different things and learn and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's amazing. I would say that I think it's really amazing how you guys are uniquely different, but how God's placed y'all together. And I think that's evidence of what we see today. I want to also speak to like the person, like kind of we work together now, but we did not work together in the beginning. And there are the people out there that one person God may be calling one person that's uniquely made in some certain way to pursue something. And the other person may just not be called to that, or just, what's the word?
Not interested.
Yeah, not interested, but feels like as a family, we're gonna support one another together. And I would say, like, I think that's our experience of how, like, you know, the support that we've had from one another, even like, and over time, what happens is through like being able to like find that success in that way, it's like, oh, wow, okay, I actually see now how this can flesh out. Like you almost like your experience of doing the thing. Because sometimes people are like, I want to get my husband to get on the same page with me to be interested. It's like, sometimes, girl, he ain't interested. But that just means that sometimes you have to actually get out there and do what you say you're going to do. And that could be the very thing that God uses to create the vision for him. And then he jumps on the same page.
Because being in a marriage together years and years is totally different than working together.
Yes.
It's a totally different dynamic.
Yes, it is.
It's like working out. Go to the gym. Why are we doing it? Like, why?
Yes.
I know what to do. I used to do, you know, so it's a different level of trust.
It is.
Different level of.
Yes. And depending on the
out.
season that we're in, sometimes we come to this season, and we were talking about this recently, where, you know, I may be kind of empty and I'm like, this is all I got.
Can I?
And it's all you got.
Can I also get deep though?
Yes, please.
Little deep.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think for me, it's not, I don't want people to hear me saying that I didn't have individual goals or dreams for myself, because I did.
Yeah.
But I think as a leader also too, one of the things that God has challenged me in is he's challenged me, like, it's easy for you to just want to do things by yourself. It's harder for people to actually come together and coexist and work together to accomplish something.
Yes.
And it actually, I think in some ways, it glorifies the Lord better, right?
Yep.
Because it creates, one, I think it demonstrates a togetherness that the world really don't see.
Let's talk
right?
about that.
And so the world really doesn't, I'm always conscious of, like, what is the world witnessing by seeing a husband love a wife with so many gifts, who doesn't stifle her gifts, who doesn't stifle how she flies, but at the same time can come alongside her and with his gifts, and they can work together to accomplish a goal. Because how many times do marriages fall apart because people just don't even know how to support one another, nor do they know how to work together. And so I do think that it's easy for you just to think, oh, I can kill it, I can kill it, I can kill it, I can kill it. That's easy, right? Right. In the same way that it's easy to love yourself. Right. But it's harder to apply what you learned in the Bible with other people. And so I'm consistently thinking about just the different type of glory.
I love that.
That God can get when two people who are gifted can come together. And I think as a leader, I think every leader should try to figure out how to steward that. You guys don't have to be two poets and two writers like me and Jackie. You could work, as a flight attendant, and your wife can be a nurse. But it's like, how are you demonstrating to the world that no, we can come together with our own individual sets of talents, our own individual sets of skills? how can we come together and to display the world this togetherness?
That's good.
So good. It reminds me of, we were just talking about this last week, Lawrence and I, about how like, when you're a kid and you are going through various trauma, if you go through certain things and you have to deal with it on your own, you end up going to a place of isolation. And how, as an adult, if we don't work through that trauma, if we don't see the value in our working together and how God has put us together, then we can easily like stress or trauma or whatever, and then we go, to isolate versus like connecting with one another.
And I think it's a doper legacy, period. Because I think it's gonna be a whole lot of people who did a whole bunch of stuff by themselves. It's not gonna be a whole lot of people who say, I actually killed it with my wife for 40, 50 years.
Right.
And we worked in a space together and we destroyed things. Not a lot of people have that. A lot of marriages don't even last.
Yeah.
Let alone people working together. And so I just think it's dope.
There's like spiritual attacks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I'd love to hear if you guys talk about that, if y'all have experienced that, but I know we have, like, just times where, like, if we like working towards something or we're going towards something that we're doing together that's just like a big deal, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I've had this dream that he did something crazy, and and I wake up thinking it's reality, and I have to like really pray and fight, because it's like Satan knows my fears.
Every time we would do something together, we would get attacked. Or
a long time ago.
Yeah. We would get attacked a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like before, like teaching or whatever, we arguments. And so now we just know how to prepare for it. You know what I'm saying? And pray for it, you know what I'm saying? Before it happens, so.
And there was a podcast I listened to from you guys. I think it was a married couple mentors of
Melody
y'all.
and CD.
Yes. And they said something that was like, that really taught me. It's like, we know our struggles and our insecurities, and who else knows that? Satan.
Right.
And he knows it more than probably we know it. And so he knows how to like play on those things. And they were talking about like an anniversary trip or something that they planned. And anyways, it was just something that was really important to me that I took away. Like when I'm in that moment where I feel like I'm instantly getting frustrated with my husband about something, and I can either go to assume this story that I formed in my mind that's probably not true, that's playing off of my trauma or something that I've done, or I can like fight to recognize, you know what? There is a bigger enemy beyond me and Lawrence right now that does not want us to get on the same page, that wants to like keep us divided, that does not want us to make it. It does not want our kids to have this like beautiful legacy.
For sure.
And that helps us to pause.
For sure.
Yeah. That's real. What is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and that kind of remind me of what Preston said, that they, in those moments, they prepare and pray.
Right.
I know what we do, one routine we kind of do together is our Monday get-ups, and we'll go on our walks and stuff. What are some things or practically that y'all do to connect or get on?
That's good.
Same page.
I think a huge component in not being ignorant of the enemy's schemes is not being ignorant of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think having a self-awareness of what triggers me, right? What are the character flaws I have that he could leverage? And so I think for me and Preston, we just know, I think the way I think our spiritual warfare looks different now. Like I think before it used to be like arguments and stuff. So we would say like, if I do anything to irritate you, we need to work through that immediately, right? Like let's process that instead of like being mad at each other. I think now it's stuff like anxiety or exhaustion or sickness with our kids. That's a huge thing where like something happens in the house that frustrates us. And so that's something that we're aware of. So it's not even necessarily us being united when it comes to our own stuff. It's more so us managing the home and making sure the house is straight and making sure that like we're getting proper sleep, making sure that we're eating accordingly, like even taking care of our bodies and how that affect what we do on stage.
Yeah. For sure. Jackie being on me when it comes to just little things. Are you drinking water?
Honestly,
because I'm a goer. Like I can just be running.
Because God can't use you if you passed out.
No.
You understand?
And so just making sure just checking in, making sure we're physically good, that we're, mentally good. It's been times where she, and just praying. I think truly praying for your spouse. There's times she's about to go to do her Glory conference, 2-day women's conference, and it's just 3,000 women. It's just coming to see her. Yeah. And I felt led one time to just get out my bed, get on her side of the bed, get on my knees, and just pray for her. Yeah. And I feel led like that more times than others. But just consistently praying for the type of spiritual warfare that she would go through. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Like I just had a huge conference out in Canada. I just got back last night, and I felt overwhelmed. And I text Jackie, about how overwhelmed I am, and she was like, "I'm praying for you right now." And then she called me and was like, "Praying for you," you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then she helped me work through it. So I just think that one, communicating and just being able to be available.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
That's good.
And sex helps.
Oh yeah.
Come on now.
It really does help to disarm.
Not me, but
it helps you too.
Maybe.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
I was gonna say something.
Go ahead.
I don't know how.
Yeah, you sure?
She's like, "Oh no, not now."
Go ahead.
No, it's all good.
No, it really does. Sometimes I think it doesn't help, but then I get into times I'm like, ooh, I probably need to have an orgasm. It really does make things lighter, and it really disarms and just makes you like.
Orgasms are good.
They are really good for men and women.
You like them too?
Yeah, they don't help me in the spiritual warfare thing. Like when I'm in it, that's how I serve you, to help you.
With the spiritual warfare?
Yes.
You just like because they feel good. Okay, go.
Okay, we go, because that's turning into a different podcast.
Right, I was gonna say.
I said that's the thing.
Okay, well, I wanted to end with this. I really want to hear from you guys in this way. We're in crazy times right now. In the world, in families, as a believer, in Black community, etc. And we're in a time where people are believing all kind of different stuff. They're doing all kind of different stuff. And what's interesting, especially post-COVID, is people are really desiring community and being around a like-minded group of people more than ever. And I really want to hear from you guys as thought leaders of this community. What are some ways that couples can really, what are some advice that you could give to couples on how to arm themselves with healthy ways, biblical ways to be able to pour into their relationship while also pursuing their dreams?
One, I think being surrounded around a healthy community is always good. Like we said earlier, I don't think that it's healthy for, a married couple, for your spouse to be your only community. Because when your spouse is your only community, one, you're gonna feel drained by one another easier. Yeah. And so I think that's also too. But I think for the most part, just make sure you pray together. Truly, truly have a life of prayer together. When we pray together, and even when we're praying more individually, I think our visions align more. We see better. I hear from the Lord about her better. She hears from the Lord about me better. We had a different church location. We go to a different church, and it's just in this season. It's just been better for us. You know what I'm saying? We be hearing from the Lord at the church. You know what I'm saying? And we love the community that we're in, and you know what I mean. And so I do think that happened with prayer. You know what I'm saying? Us praying together, God kind of led us together. You know what I'm saying? And so I think when the couple is led together, I just think that it's God literally does a lot of the work. So I do think that when a couple is when there's a couple where one is carrying a lot of the spiritual load, I think it could get taxing on a marriage fast. Yeah. And so praying together is big.
Yeah. I think when I think about pouring into your relationship while pursuing your dream, I think in Corinthians when Paul says, whatever you do, do all things to the glory of God. And I think that has to anchor all the stuff. Like it can't just be the pursuit of my dream gives glory to God. If the pursuit of your dream does not honor your spouse, it does not give God glory, right? And so I think when the perspective is, I want to honor him by honoring my spouse and honoring the call, like discerning God's will in such a way where you're able to do both. And the bad news is you can't do both without the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? So you need the Holy Spirit to help you love your spouse, pour into your spouse, find way to pour into your spouse. And you need the Holy Spirit to do that in such a way where it doesn't take from what God is calling you to do. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like we can't manage all the stuff. We can't feed the 5,000. So we have to take the bread, the 5 loaves and the fish, bring it to God. He's the one who multiplies it. So he gives you the capacity to do all that he's called you to do in your relationship and in your gifts.
That's really good.
And lastly, I'll just say this too. You just need humility.
That's good.
Like praying for humility, because arrogance and pride will tell you that what I think we should be doing is what we should be doing.
This doesn't make me happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This doesn't make me happy, but also too, arrogance will tell you what I feel like doing is what I feel like I should be doing, or we should feel like we doing.
Right.
And it's like, no, what does God want both of y'all to do?
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's been seasons where I really felt like the Lord was like, Preston, deal with it and be home.
Yeah.
Jackie got to write this book because I want this book out in the world.
Yeah.
Can you accept that? You know what I'm saying? And then when I'm doing stuff, when I'm on the road or whatever, and she's at home more, it's like, Preston is out here, doing what he has to do.
Yeah.
And she's accepting that. So I think humility is a real big thing.
That triggers something for me. Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I think one element of humility is loosing yourself from greed. Because I think if we're talking about this conversation, when we have entrepreneurs and business people, some of the way we move, if it's motivated by greed, it's going to be all types of evil. You know what I'm saying? And selfish ambition. And so like,
That's good.
I think sometimes, let's say hypothetically speaking, the Lord is calling you to lay down something and to create more margin and space in your home. That means it costs you money.
Yep.
It costs you income.
Yep.
It costs you revenue and resources.
Yeah.
But if that means that your spouse will feel loved, will you do it?
Yeah.
And so even loosing yourself up from greed will actually serve, I think, your relationship.
1,000%.
So
Yeah.
I don't
just
want
felt
it
led to say
if the
that.
Lord don't want it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so last thing is, in 2024, what do you guys want more of, and then what do you want less of?
Less meat on my stomach. And I'm dead serious.
I know you are. That's why it's so
I'm
funny.
dead serious. Less of that. I don't know. I think I want more. I don't know. I'll let you answer, then I might know.
I think I want, what do I want less of and what I want more of? I don't know what I want less of. I think I want more stability when it comes to managing all that God, has called for me to manage. I can honestly say all the things that God has called for me to manage, the Lord gave it to me. I think the Lord is teaching me how to balance it all. And so, how to balance, of course, what comes first is my relationship with him, my family. Then I have my ministry, local community. Then I have my ministry, all these things. Run a clothing line. I'm a speaker, teacher. Sometimes I'm still a poet. Now I'm an author. Then I do a podcast. And so like learning how to manage all the things without feeling like I'm gonna have a panic attack every other month. And yeah, just and also too, just more quality time with the Lord and more quality time with Jackie.
That's good.
Those are my 2 favorite people.
Yeah.
And so
I definitely can attest to that for sure. It's been really amazing seeing you guys' relationship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Your friendship.
She all right.
Did you think of your more of?
I think more peace and healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Not just with me and Preston. I think me and Preston have a healthy relationship. I think I want to see more health in all of my relationships, you know? And I think just more peace. My therapist was saying, she was asking me about how my mother, like what was she doing while she was pregnant with me? And I was like, she worked until, you know, she gave birth. Like she stopped working the week before she gave birth to me.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, well, that means you were bathed in cortisol.
Wow.
And so you lived in stress, which taught, like, I think it served me because I really do succeed in stressful environments.
Yeah.
I can thrive when it's a lot going on. Yet at the same time, it means I don't know how to be still.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm seeing like I need to be content in peaceful, quiet, still situations because I feel lazy and ineffective and all the stuff. And it's like, no, you can do nothing and still be accepted.
That's so good.
And
That
so
is good.
that
I'm
would
about to
be-
go ask my mama what was she doing.
You should. You should.
I'm about to text her.
You should.
That's good. Thank
That was
you.
a long response.
No,
No,
was,
that's good.
I felt that in my soul.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
If you guys, if you want to hear more, in addition to listening to the amazing podcasts and going on their podcast tour, they are going to be at the Owning and Living Experience in November. So we'll be diving deeper into
Turn
this
up.
conversation
Yup.
in November. So you guys need to grab your tickets and get there. So I love it. Thanks so much for being here.
All right.
Love it.